Alright, it's story time. I'm finally ready to tell this story. So, my grandma died this last fall, and she was so sweet. She was so independent, so strong, such a great woman. My mom went to my grandpa's house now and was helping my grandpa clean out her stuff. That was really hard. And so when my mom came back, she gave me a bag, like a grocery bag full of seeds. And my grandma had dreams and ambitions to have this gorgeous garden, and as long as, I've known her my whole life, she's always wanted a big garden. And my grandpa built her these terrace beds and everything, and she lives on the other side of the state, so I'm not exactly sure if she ever got that dream. But she also really wanted to help me with this farm expedition. And so I had so many seeds, and I had duplicates of a lot of stuff. And seeds go bad; they don't last forever, especially if they're not stored properly. So I gave some seeds to a friend, and we had been talking, and he was going to order a bunch of seeds. I'm like, hey, I got some seeds. Let me give you some seeds. And so I gave him a couple packets of tomato seeds, pumpkin seeds, peas, all sorts of seeds. And so they started planting all these seeds, him and his wife. And he was like, they're 6-year-old seeds. I don't know if any of them will even grow. So he plants all of them, all the tomato seeds. So he calls me and he's like, hey, every single one of these tomato seeds has sprouted. I'm like, okay, that's great. I love that for you. He's like, no, every single tomato seed. He's like, I planted all of them. They're all sprouted. I'm like, okay, well, let's see where it goes. So he ended up with over 400 tomatoes. Over 400 tomatoes. And so he's like, hey man, you gotta come take some of these tomatoes. Like, I don't have room for all these. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I pick up a couple hundred tomatoes. No joke. A couple hundred tomatoes. And then I met this guy, and he's been helping me out a lot. And he decides he's gonna build me a greenhouse. Like, I came home to this, okay? So, I'm home to this. He found a bunch of scrap, so he found these poles on the property, all this wood, and then he had this plastic. And so he built me this greenhouse. And that planter, by the way, and that bench. Yeah, he built all of those. Super cool guy. And then he brought me a ton of plants, too. So I have a greenhouse full of plants, full of tomatoes, full of peppers, full of all sorts of lettuce, cabbage, all sorts of stuff. But with everything going on in my life, it's been really hectic, and trying to get all these plants out of the greenhouse now into the ground in July. I'm really late to the planting. But here I am at 8 o'clock planting tomatoes. And yes, I have bamboo trellises that I'm putting up out of bamboo. So as I'm fighting the weeds and planting, these are all my tomato plants. And I have hundreds more to plant. So my crop this year is tomatoes. So I will be selling tomatoes on the street corner. I'll be selling tomatoes maybe at a farmer's market. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out. But my grandma, rest in peace. She definitely has contributed to the craziness of this farm. And I appreciate her so much, and I miss her. And though she lived across the state and I did not get to know her as well as I wanted to, I still love her dearly, and I think she'd be proud. And yeah, here I am, taking a little rest after planting 60 tomatoes. I didn't plant them all today. I only planted like 15 today because I worked, working and then working more at home. Okay, so to give you perspective, these are all the pepper plants my friend gifted me. And then I have some basil here, more peppers. These are all the tomatoes I did not transplant. So they were all in pans like these. I just didn't get around to it. And then I have some lettuce, cabbage, flowers, more peppers I didn't get around to transplanting, more cabbage, lettuce. I have this cherry tomato. This is my only cherry tomato plant. More flowers. So this was all tomatoes, but I have all these left to plant. This is a giant squash that a friend gave me. Yes. And then here is more tomatoes. So many tomatoes. And then I have a couple vines of cantaloupe and watermelon in here. And yeah, so you can see how many freaking tomato plants I have still to plant. It's insane. And peppers. So trying to get all these in the ground. Everything's starting to flower and get fruit on them, which is awesome. But this is my project outside of work.